Top of the morning to you. Hey, Michael here. Grandkids call me Roo. Thanks. I see a camera that's jumping a little bit, and the focus is going in and out. So I'm trying to figure it out here in the wee hours of the morning, especially if you live in California. Hey, great to have you on board today. Roo here. I think we're going to paint something, and I'm gonna paint on something. Then I got to tell you about what I did this week, just because it involved a lot of art. Yeah, a lot of my art, that was given away, and I was writing down gift of art time, and guess what that spells? Goat. You know, you think it's the greatest of all times. No, it's a gift of art time, goat. And I maybe some of you have noticed that before, but I just wrote it down there, and it went like, oh my gosh, it's gift of art time. So coming to you live from my upstairs office studio edit suite. Library, junk room, storage closet, just where I put everything that we probably want to hide from anybody else that comes over. I mean, just crazy stuff. No, it's really been a studio office for the last umpteen years, and I've adapted that desk just to hold stuff that I'm not using this desk to hold. And then there's a bookcase there that has all my journals and all, not all my books at all. In fact, I've probably given away several hundred books over the years that I read and I enjoyed, but I just thought those are not the ones that really pulled me in and grabbed my style. So, your library can't be, it's not like you're trying to own a public library, but there are certain books that I go back to time and time again. And so these are some of those books. And it's a plethora of interesting books as I look across. There's everything from a real Acme catalog. You remember Roadrunner days? There's an Acme catalog over there. You didn't know they came out with one? Oh yeah, it's brilliant. To things about Israel, to books that are autographed to me from people that I bumped into over the years. One of my favorite books called A Whack on the Side of the Head by Roger Von Owick. And I don't see it, but I know it's over there. Oh, wait, I have two copies of that. And they're not together. One's there, one's there. One's got a red binding here, and one's got a white brown binding over there. That's interesting. Practical Beekeeping not by my father, but was my father's book with his signature in it. Not to me, just his signature in it. The book that I quote all the time, that's called Orbiting the Giant Hairball. And one of my favorite quotes is in that. There are actually two quotes in there that I use all the time. I'll just tell them to you if you want to write them down now, and we'll just get started this way. One of them is, what I was made for is disruption. What I was made for is disruption of the routine, not pointless disruption, but disruption with a purpose. And so you are kind to let me disrupt your morning, maybe a cup of tea. I got a room mug here today. I've got the right-handed mug. This is the one that has the rooster on the side facing you, so you know you're drinking out of that mug. The new mugs that are available on the website, they have a rooster on both sides. Both the same cup. Anyway, so that's one of my quotes, and it's by Gordon MacKenzie, who wrote the book Orbiting the Giant Hairball. It's one of the funkiest books you'll ever read. And then there's chapter 19, which is on page 189 in that book. And I have no notes in front of me. There's nothing here that you can see. Let me just prove to you there. It's not even over here. I'm looking at it over there. I could go grab it and be so sure that I could turn to page 189 and show you that there's a little picture of the Wright Flower postage stamp, and then on that 190, so 189, 190, and 190, there's a little thing right here that says Orville did not have a pilot's license. Turn the page. It's chapter 20. You gotta love that. You gotta love the fact that you are allowed to paint, walk the earth freely, do creative things, make art, make people smile, be kind, and you don't have to have a license to do that. Against those things, there's no law. And so I love that quote from Gordon MacKenzie, who is no longer on this planet. He was an artist for Hallmark for 30 years, and he orbited around the giant hairball of the corporate minutia, red tape mixture. Why isn't Gordon coming to all the meetings? We're all here in all the meetings, and Gordon's not here at the meetings. They go, and finally some CEO says, let Gordon alone. Gordon is painting more cards than you guys combined. He paints more in a month than you guys will do in a year, so let Gordon alone. I got Gordon figured out. Gordon needed to be umbilical around this big hairball of, and HR and all this mess, and he just drifted out here and kept firing off creative things. I love that concept. Okay. By the way, COVID has created some offices that are like that today, where people are orbiting the giant hairball. They're not working 9 to 5. They're working when they feel, look, some mornings I get up at 4. Not because I set my alarm. My brain wakes me up and it goes, this, and several things fire, and then I have to go do it. And so sometimes I've even been known to work 3 hours, more than sometimes, a lot of times. And then I'll go back and lay down for a couple hours and sleep until like 9:30. Not on mornings that I see you here. All right, so I'm off and running. Let me say hello to some of you. See, it doesn't take me long to go down a rabbit hole with books in my office and where I am. Morning, Rue, Lori Stanley, Handelmeyer Henderson, Michael Ashburn. Good morning to you, my brother. Michael Ashburn and I go way back, and we keep in touch several times a month, just to pester each other, but also to tell each other about two brothers who love each other in different parts of the country. Just, we're drawn to each other's humor. We love each other's style of life and faith and just all those things, and kids and grandkids, and it's just great stories. Appreciate you, brother. Got some guys like that here in this town, too. Karen Binder, thanks for being on the show. Amy Roach, good morning to you. I think you had a birthday. Debbie Bennett, Nancy Catlett. Leaves are changing in Bean Blossom. Yeah, man, I saw a picture from the Great Smoky Mountain National Park yesterday, and then also up on the Appalachians. My son is up in Appalachian Boone, and the leaves are the tops of those trees, especially the poplars, are beginning to turn out a little bit. Maples will start turning red real soon. I was in the woods last week, not physically, but or spiritually, but maybe I was. Trish Brown, welcome to the show. Kathy Morrow, Denise Albright. Wow, good morning to you all the way out there. There's Pat Brooks. Good Knot, Michael on and Peeps. I'm not sure what Good Knot is, but I think it's, who knows? That's good. I appreciate it. June Jones, a beautiful morning to all of you. She says from here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Glad Florida is coming out of the miry pit of despond. When you live in Florida, you have to know that I live close to this unpredictable thing they call the ocean, and sometimes a storm makes it raise up and bite you like a snake in the woods. Okay, so pray for all those folks. Let's see. Cindy Wiltermood, always love seeing your art around when I'm on. You're just quite an artist. Gene Anthalzer, Skeeter Powell, two people. Linda Schleichning from beautiful Ohio. It's always beautiful, Ohio. And so actually, I've been there on some beautiful days, great puffy clouds. And Catherine Brousseau, love to have you. Alice Durham, Janice Scott, Ann Westra. And did I see, no, it was another Ann that bought a brush yesterday. Dorothy Beasley, good morning to you. Deborah Spangler, Kathy Morrow, Chris Whitaker, Elaine Barrett. Chris, always love your art style. Elaine Barnett, thanks for being on the show. Glenda Edwards Small, love to have you here. Sue Kane, all the way from, and Sue had never heard the expression, even a blind hog will find an acorn every now and then. I used it when she said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you thought about making a pocket watch into a fishing fly." It wasn't that good a painting, Sue. I appreciate it, but it was just the creativity of time flies. Time flies. So if I took my pocket watch and I wired it, opened it up so the fish could see all that stuff, and took the hands and made a hook out of it. Okay, it's a long story. Michelle Mace, good morning, everyone. Happy fall here. Going to the local church Oktoberfest event. Wow, now that's interesting. When a church plays an Oktoberfest event and brings out the beer kegs, I'm gonna have to come visit that church. Even though I don't drink beer, I think that would be a heck of a celebration. And she plays the accordion there. I love it. That is just so fantastic. Man, if there's one instrument that I could just pick up tomorrow and start going, it would be the accordion. There's something about it that just, it's a little bit like a banjo, in that, as Steve Martin used to say, you just can't play a sad song on a banjo. You just can't say, "Oh, gloom and mercy and despair." You just can't do it on a banjo. So I think the accordion is sort of like that. It just breathes life. There's some melodious pieces that when the lights are low on the Paris street, and you're walking the streets and you see some, and I have seen this, by the way. I saw this old guy sitting there with his little, he needed a mop bucket to put all his tips in, but he's playing Avian Rose. Yeah, I love it. All right, don't get me going. Mary Outwad, thanks for being on the show this morning. Okay, let's jump in. Lisa Predecessor, Rosie B. G's on the show. Let's see, Margie Quayle, sorry, Pat Lightbody, Jennifer Yentz, golly, Ginger Atlan Pate is on the show this morning. Welcome. Mike Wallace, fall break, Mike Wallace. I know Mike Wallace, Karen Smith, Kathy Morrow. Golly, thank you guys for jumping on today. Let's do this. I keep this rooster here on the top of my desk, top of the morning to you. I love painting that rooster, and in fact, I'm probably going to paint a new one. But I've got, this is Kilimanjaro paper. It is from Cheap Joe's Art Stuff. I love those guys. I'll be doing a class with them in Black Mountain, North Carolina. That's just 15 miles east of Asheville. I'll be there maybe 15 miles, maybe 20 minutes east of Asheville. And I'll be there in March of 2023. I think it's like maybe it's the 22nd or 20 something. I don't know. It's in the 20s of March. And I'm going to be there painting a watercolor class in person, live. Information on that will be out soon from Water Media Group, which is Cheap Joe's involved in that. And it'd be fun to go do a live class. Haven't done that. I've done that in groups around here, and I've done it for schools, and I've done it for a few adults, but I haven't done it where it's a serious produced art class from an organization. And so I'm flattered to be a part with some of the artists that are going to be there. They are just fabulous, and so I'm excited about going and just meeting some of those people. But I'm doing my shtick, my watercolor. Get involved, do something, even if it's wrong. Just throw paint at the paper. You're welcome to do that. All right, I got a pen somewhere here. I used to have one when I started. I primed this pump on this pen here. A little piece of watercolor paper here. Ah! All right. That's like planned ad lib right there. Look at that. Come on, really? This is an 07 Pentel. Well, there's why it's not writing. It is empty. Where's the spring? Oh, there it is. Okay, spring's in there. All right, so I could throw this away, or I could just put in a refill. And I have one here somewhere. Nope, that's a 5. There's a 5. I don't want the 5 in there. I want a 7. I want a bold. There it is, right there. There's a 7. I'm going to break a rule here and cut this open with my whittling knife. I never cut paper or plastics with my whittling knife. Maybe I shouldn't. Man, what's some tough plastic right there? All right, so you can buy these refills, roller pen refill. Still comes with the little bub of whatever it is on the end, the little bubble of that. And Or you can just buy replacement pencils. When I see them go on sale places, I'll do that. And for instance, you find them in crazy places. Like I think these, here's some sitting right here next to that. I must have just uncovered those. These are Intergel Medium 07 black scratch free. It says needle tip. I love this part right here, which there's 3 little boxes here. I love the fact, I don't care if it says smoothing Roddy, that doesn't make any sense, but it says dry quick, no smear. Not that quick, people, because I use them because they do smear a little bit. So that's the Pentel pen. They come in 2, you can buy them in sets, or you can buy 10 refills. Like this is an 05. I keep a couple of these on my desk at all times. The refills, they're in a little box. I get them online. But you have to, when you punch it open, if you can see that, you see how big around that little tip is right there? You have to just scratch off that little nib right there. It's a little rubber protection point they put on there so the needle tip doesn't get. Now we'll prime it. Let's see. Oh, so much better. Got a couple little skips there, but it's just the ball is getting wet. So, all right, so let's see. We could paint a little rooster on this with his hair back like this, and he could be running. Have this foot out here like this, and have this one coming in from behind like this. Woohoo! Maybe the ground's right here. He's just touching in a couple places, and you get a little feel for. Let me wake these paints up just a little bit. A little misting bottle. Wake up! Just a little moisture there because I'm going to use this bamboo brush and I want to be gentle on the hairs. This, by the way, is goat hair. That's a giveaway art time. Goat. It's goat hair. It really is goat hair. That's what I'm told anyway by the people who make this in Japan. Have it shipped over here. That's the Yasutoma brush I'm painting with. That's how I met those freaks. You know that, right? They sent me a photo like this. The photo was a close-up. It had a little painting. It had my hand on a brush like this, and it was just cropped. And it said, "Is that your hand? We think that's our brush, and you're painting watercolors with it." And I sent a note back and said, "Who are you, and why do you want to know?" And they said, "Well, because we make this brush, we think." And so, look at the brush. There's no marking on it, but if you go into the under fine light, you see right there it says all-purpose SW 2-0 Yasutoma. It's there. And I had to go turn the lights on and go, oh my gosh, what is going on? And that prompted the phone call that they said, "Where did you get the brush?" And I said, I think I bought it to experiment with from Cheap Joe's in Boone, North Carolina. And they said that would make sense because we supply Cheap Joe's with all their Yasutoma brushes. And the rest is history. You guys know what happens from there. I never looked back from loving to paint with Yasutoma brushes. But anyway, they sent me a bunch of them and a disclaimer. This one I already had paid for. They've sent me, I think I got 8 or 10 or 12 over here. We gave away a lot on the show. And it's just been really awesome to have some great brushes. If you haven't painted with one, I'll tell you, I'm going to talk about it coming up in my beginner's class that I'm going to start in November. And man, my camera is driving me batty. I'm sorry. I'm sure it is you too. So forgive me forgive me for the, I don't know why it's bouncing on that. Anyway, so let's do this. What I was going to do before I rudely interrupted myself with a pen. I'm going to look at this rooster here. So sometimes I look at things and I paint similar, and sometimes I just take a wild shot and put on a piece of music and just have some fun with it. This was done with just pen. So I'm going to start this with this 07, and I'm just going to do his head bent down like this. You know what? I don't even think I'm going to look at that. I'm going to turn it over and just put it up there like that. Just let this one come out where he will. Look at that. That paint on my finger. Already got it on the piece of paper. If there's anybody who can mess up a piece of paper quickly, I'll assure you it is I. Some of you thought I was going to say me, but no. You know, I did go to school once. I stayed home a lot. Turn this music down just a little bit here. A piece of music I haven't heard before. All right. Yikes. All right, I'm going to use my Safari pen here. So I'm going to jump through some black pens. Here's a Safari. This is called the Lamy pen, or the Lamy pen, whichever you want to call it. Why would I use this? Because all this ink is going to bleed differently. Here's another pen. This is a fine line pen, and I'm just going to do some cross hatching in here like this with the fine line pen. There it is right there. Can you see that? Just doing some little fine line cross hatching right here. The reason I would do this is because it's going to bleed all different colors. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. There's two pens. Here's a speedball pen, which I don't even know if this one will write, but we'll see. I'll stick it down in the water a little bit. Where's my little scrap piece of paper that I had? Rats. Here, I'll write on this. Oh yeah, I might get a little out of that. So we'll take this right in here and just do some cross hatching right in here with that. Just a little spots. That's not doing too well. Wet it again. Maybe just shake some in there from it. There we go. Look at that. Just shake a few pieces in there. This is this is a very dark speedball ink. And then I think there's a, so that's these three pens. That's four pens already. That's not a pen. Here's a pen. That's the one I used. Let's see what else I can use in here that I have. Here's a flare pen. I'll just use this old flare because they tend to have a little purple and blue in them. So I'm going to bring in a little, see how that does right there. We'll put that there. Also a little shadow with this pen right here might be cool. Okay. Remember, there's no plan here. I'm just making this up as I go. Let's see. What else have we got here? Do I have a stylus pen? Yeah, there's a stylus. The stylus has a little different twist. In fact, I'll just put some of that right. I'll put it right here. No rhyme or reason to these little marks, and then I'll just let some of this go out here. And I'm going to let that stylus be his comb and his wattle. All right, let's grab a little clean brush. Just this, and then just with a little water in it. I need a paper towel here to keep my brush just clean and dry. So there's the pens that I used. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pens. No paint. I'm just going to do this black and white, and let's just let it roll. And let's start over here because I'm right-handed and I'll get water all over everything. This stylus has a little bit of blue-gray in it. You see that? I think you can see that's as blue-gray as you can get right there. Not too much water. This is how you learn. Now this flare pen is going to have a little charcoal purple in it. There's no such thing as charcoal purple, but I think you see it coming through there. That's pretty cool, isn't it? This is the Pilot Yasutoma. It's going to be a little more Payne's grayish. It's going to come close to the flare, but if I keep adding water to the flare, you're going to see a little bit of green break out. These little spots right here are that speedball ink. And speedball has a reputation of being inks that you print with, and they're pretty rugged in their style of just being a bold color. They stand up and yell at you quite often. This is the Lamy. It's going to do the same thing, but it's going to have a little more of a gray purple wash. And you're going to say, well, some of those look alike, but if you were to be close and if you were to be seeing what I see here, you might realize that there's some different colors wading through here. And this is kind of just a clubby looking rube, but I'm going to bring some of these in and just let the feathers come out. And then when I brush out here, look at what this bamboo brush can do. Do you see the little sweet little filigree brushings that it comes out there and the looseness of that? That's just really cool. I think I'm going to change gears and just pull a little color in. I just wanted a little bit of color on the feet, and I just wanted a little yellow in that beak to make that pull the eye right there. And then I want a little bit of purple here. Let's see, I could get some of this right here. If I could just get a clean brush, wet it a little bit and come right in here and get some of this. Just lay my brush down in this and go in here and get this. I should get enough just to make some fun little purple shadows from that flare pen that I rolled out there like that. That's where you can really see that purple come out of that flare. Look at that. Wow. Okay, so don't fill up all my holidays. Leave some of those open. Just let them kick around. Have some fun in there. A little touch of that color. I want to grab this flare pen right here and create this earth coming back so it looks like he's standing a little bit up on a mound right here, and I'm going to fill in that just a little bit. This is where I go back to my old school, and like old school, I've been doing this so long. I'm an old man, but it doesn't mean I've been painting a long time. I've only been painting about 12, 15 years, something like that. So he requires either he's bowing or he's requiring a little something here. Maybe he's requiring this right here. Maybe he's requiring a little paint bucket with a brush in it. Let's see. He's going to have a brush that's hanging out like this, coming down. And then I think I got to find a really fine pen. What have I got here that's fine? If I were Denise, should be handing me an 03 right now, but I don't think I have an 03 on the desk. I have an 05 somewhere. Here it is right here. I'll do a little grasshopper with an 05 right here. He is. He's got a little paintbrush. Okay. And so I have this tiny little drawing. And look, this is tiny. I'm going to come in on this a little bit so you can see how tiny I'm dealing with here. Here we go. Get ready. A little focus process coming in. Hold on to your britches one time. All right, so there's a little closer shot. You can see those colors a little better, I think. You see how that went blue-gray, that went Payne's gray, this went purple. There's no purple paint in this. This is from the pigment. The more water you put, the more it breaks down the fibers in the pen. If you haven't played with pens in a while, do it for heaven's sakes. Have some fun with them. They are just fabulous to just goof off with. I'm thinking here's where I'm going to get a little bit of green and create this little grasshopper and just a touch of green. Well, that's enough green to paint the whole bucket green. So there's my little grasshopper green. And then I think what I'm going to do is just make a little gray bucket with some paint running down. Here's a little gray paint bucket right here. And then I'm going to just do some red coming down the side like this. I'm going to put red in this brush. And then I think what I'm going to do is you know what I love to do sometimes? I love to do these little paintings that look like the rooster's getting ready to get painted. So I think that would be fun. So let's just put a spot right there like that. Okay. So I like when I've done a bee painting like that where the bee is getting ready to paint the rooster and he goes, hey, you're going to love this. And so that's kind of the concept of that painting right there. What I would do here is I'd come back in with my Pentel and I'd make these feet kind of come in like this, got in and then maybe some grass out here like this a little bit. And so suddenly, in no time at all, with just some pens and a touch of watercolor, I've made this little painting work. And it tells a story. And to me, how many times am I going to say it until Jesus takes me home? Telling stories is where life is lived. It is. It's what the Bushmen did. It's what the cavemen did. It's what the early biblical characters did. It's what everybody did. You sit down around the fire. You sit down around the back porch. You sit down at the edge of the garden in those old green chairs, and you broke beans and you told stories and you shared values and you shared hope. And that's what's missing today because we turn on the light bulb and we go in and we watch a TV produced piece, or we watch a news that's just like, yeah, or we play a video game of some sort that is just, it's not that your mind doesn't have to have space where you wonder and are still and calm, but you miss out on some stories. And so find your grandkids or find your kids and tell some stories that happened to you. When Carol and I ran a lodge, and you remember the water wheel thing that I showed you a few weeks ago, I showed you this the water wheel where we were. And one of the things that we did was I would come in the mornings and I'd go, I'd name one of the guests and I'd say, last night, there was a colonel there. And I said, last night the colonel really upset me that he said he didn't like the dessert that we served here. I mean, he just came right up, and just because he was in World War II and broke into Hitler's headquarters, which he did, and he knew, and look, I respect that in that man, but just the fact that you come over and say, I didn't like that dessert, who do you think you are, Colonel? So they would know that I was just being a goofball. And I'd say, so tonight, Colonel, no dessert. Yep. And they'd go, hey, you can't do that. We're here at this lodge to enjoy. And I said, hey, I hired the chef. No dessert. Okay, here's what I will do, though. At 7:47, could have been 7:57 back then, but you join me on the rockers out on the deck. Carol and I will come out there. We're going to serve blackberry cobbler and ice cream. But you better, your ticket to eat is you better be prepared to tell us what you did in 1912, where you were and what went on. This was in the 80s. So we had people who were in their 80s and 90s who were there for this guest event. And they had to think, what was I doing? They were staying for a week, and it was fabulous. So we would do that sort of thing. Always be willing to just push that little extra bit, and do that in your watercolors also. All right, so what have I been doing this week? I'll tell you. Here it is right here. I like this painting, believe it or not. It's on 140 pound Kilimanjaro paper. Back to my paint book. I picked this up in Asheville the other day. I just really love this size. I love to carry it in my bag along with my bug out bag. And so we'll go from there. Let me blow this back out just a little bit here and get a new focus. Boom. You know, technology is a lovely thing, but it's a strange bird too, so to speak. Sometimes it works. I don't know why this just keeps jumping around, but it does. I love it when the grandkids are telling the story. That's because he's heard you. Stephen Dockery, Whittle a Rooster. I'm not sure what that is, Whittle a Rooster, but Stephen Dockery, Whittle a Rooster. Did I miss a comment there? Probably missed a lot of comments. Hey folks, we'll have to catch the reruns. I'm off to cut down a tree this morning. Oh, okay. There we go. There it is. All right, Steve, go cut down the tree. Remember, clear the way. Sometimes they fall the wrong direction. Sabine's on the show. I didn't see your name. Just quickly cleaned the bookshelf and found a little lime green moleskin journal where I designed each double page differently. Look at you. Love it when you go digging through your stuff and find something like that. I bought one of those dip pens. Oh, yeah. Haven't figured out how to load it yet. Well, you don't load it if it's a dip pen. You just keep dipping it. Is that what we're talking about, like this? Yeah, there's no way to load this. You just dip it in the ink each time you need to use it. These were what cartoonists used forever. Those are great pens. Hey, if you got questions, throw them up there. I'll look at the cues. Just put a cue in front of it in case I miss it. Could be the jumping camera, autofocus. Well, it's certainly on autofocus, but everything in my life's on autofocus. Yes. So thanks, Steve. All my other cameras are autofocus. They have to, but this one's not supposed to catch that fast. But I don't know why it's not locked in. It should have been locked in focus on this particular program. And so this isn't just another camera. It's a camera that's made to shoot on the web, and it's locked in. So, but for some reason, it's not locking in. But yeah, I don't know why. All right. Well, we'll have to live with it today till I solve it. I'm sure that's probably part of the problem. But this particular app is supposed to just lock on the one place that I set it to. For some reason, it's jumping today. So may have hit a hiccup or a roadblock or something. So may need time to re-download the app on this particular camera. Everything now has to have firmware updates, as you know. All right, here we go. Yeah, I see it jumping. Sorry. This week I painted on small paper. What's small paper? Well, you know about the history of the whiskey painters, right? They painted on 4x5 paper. This is a 6x6 piece of paper. You see it there. Look at this, 6x6. It certainly is jumping. Um, Golly, it's doing crazy things today. So this is 6x6, but when I carry around paper with me in my bag, I generally carry 4x5, which is about, I'm betting that's about 4x5 right there. Let's see. 4x5. 20 inches square was what the whiskey painters painted. Whiskey painters were guys that would come in, take their small little sets of paints, a small brush, dip it into spirits and paint something. And they're the ones that got me, well, no, that's not true. I was already giving paintings away before I found out about them. Only about 8 years ago, I found out about or 5 years ago, I found out the whiskey painters. But I've always loved to carry small cards because, I think some of you know that I don't really carry business cards. I have one that I send out with my mugs, but I carry these small little pieces of paper in here, and I paint business cards. I paint them as business cards and give them to people. But I still carry bigger paper sometimes. I can slide in a piece that's pretty good size, almost this big, and I'll do a painting if it connects. This week, I have given away 10 different paintings that just connected to people. And I didn't know how important that was until a strange thing happened twice this week. I walked down to the Starbucks, and I took my tea bags and I said, Buffy, she said, are you here to paint today? And I said, maybe. And she has one of my paintings. And I said, I need a cup of hot water. She goes, I know the drill. And she said, and you need one of these little cups. And so they gave me the little espresso cup, and she put a little tap water in it. And she turned to the other lady and said, he paints. He comes here, clears his head in the afternoons sometimes, and he paints. And I sit down. And so she said, what did you paint today? Can I see? And so I showed her. I said, you can see. I painted in this little softbound journal. And by the way, I'm beginning to like this very, very much as another little painting book. It's made by Strathmore. And it's 140 pound, but it's not the hardback one. I think I had a hardback one up here, but this is the softbound. It's not perforated, so to get the paper out, you have to cut it out if you do, and then it kind of makes a mess, but it's good paper. I like it. It's bright white. I painted this for some friends in Black Mountain, and I never got to visit them, so I'm keeping it in here till I get to their house. There's where I cut a painting out. Here's a bee. Here's a lobster that I did. I think I showed you this the other day. Here's a couple flies that I did. Here's the pocket watch painting that I did the other day. So this is where I was sitting painting this pocket watch broken down. It says, if you took an old pocket watch and you made a fishing lure, would that be time flies? And so then I painted this big old lobster. And then you see there's a page missing right here. And I went in and she said, could I see what you're painting? And I said, sure, you can see. And so I turned to the first thing, and she did one of these numbers. She went, a bee, a honeybee. And I said, yeah, he's a pretty big one. She says, oh. And then the story just went to places from there. She said, my late husband, and people are standing behind me in line, and I'm thinking, excuse me just for a second. She said, my late husband was a beekeeper, and her eyes welled up, and she began to look for something to wipe her eyes. And she said, I miss him every day, but I still have all his bee supplies, and I have his bee boxes, and I'm going to rebuild them. And she said, I need to buy a honeybee from you. I need to buy one of your bees. How much did they sell for? And these people are standing in line going like, what, this is not a pop-up art shop. And so I'm going like, hey, hang on just a second. I said, hey, I got it covered. And she said, no, I want to know how much they sell for. And I said, well, most of the time I just sell them on auction, and I put them out on my page. She said, how do I get their auction page? And I said, hey, Buffy, serve these people, and we'll have a chat. So she wiped her eyes, and she said, I'm so sorry to the next couple people. And I took my little cup, and I walked over, and I painted one of my little bees that has the, I said, I need one of those lids. She said, I didn't think you use lids on your tea. And I said, because she knows I have tea bags. And I said, no, I want that large coffee lid right there. So I took the coffee lid. I painted the bee. I put the coffee lid down. You know how I do that, right? I paint the bee. So on a small piece of paper, on that piece of paper, I painted this little honeybee, and I just sketched him out very quickly. Um, and I've gotten to where now with, but the fact that I've painted 600 and wow, 600 and last one's painted right here. No, I didn't. I painted it. The last one was in that book. I think I'm up to 640 something. So I painted this little bee just like this. Remember, I've been doing these. Remember my rule, if you paint something 50 times, well, now that I've painted over 600 of them, it doesn't take too long to knock out a little bee. Grab a little brush that I normally don't use and just bring in some black paint and just brush this across like this. This is a little black gold dynasty brush. It's a 1/4 inch. They used to call this a dagger brush. I don't know what they call it now because our world's so politically correct. They're afraid to say the word dagger. I'm not sure what it's called these days, but you get the idea. It's a little slant brush. It probably has a different creative, politically correct name. I don't know. So the point is, I did this about this fast, and so she's serving the 3 other guests that were in line, and I'm standing over there on the edge of the bar, taking up space, and at this point in time, I'm going like, wait a minute, this lady is more important than those people rushing through their coffee. I mean, she's talking about something that's dear to her life and just really made an impact on her. And so it's her husband and his bees. And so she was telling me she still had the hives and she still had the foundational that needed to be put back in. And this spring, she's going to get bees. And so all of that she had squeaked out before I kindly bowed out of line and said, and look, I'm not telling you this because I'm some hero or want to even, or it's not an ego story. I'm telling you this because this lady's heart was sort of touched by, not sort of touched by just seeing a bee, someone who's painting a bee. And I'm going like, seriously, really? I took a pencil here, by the way, and just put some of that in. So there's that little bee. And now I'm going to take my coffee cup. And even though it's still wet, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to take this brush and clean it out. No, I'll just take my bamboo brush. Here it is. My bamboo brush. I'm going to dip it right into my tea and I'm just going to circle the cup like this around. And then just throw some splatters on there like that. And so there's my tea ring around it. And so I set it aside and I let it dry for a minute. I sipped my coffee and she waited on the other people. Some other folks came in. It was a busy afternoon for coffee. And part of it's been cool weather here and it's been beautiful. And people are coming. They're opening up their laptops and they're working outside. And they're working because their brain's firing. They're knowing that they don't have to produce all their work from 9 to 5. We have these places of time where your brain is just so quick. I've been editing, and by the way, I'm still editing Coca-Cola. And so today, when I finish here, I'm going to make some biscuits, and then I'm going to go have a little breakfast, an egg, and then put some protein in my brain, and then I'm going to go back to editing, and I'm going to finish it because my brain. But some mornings, and even last night, I had an hour of just inspiration. I sat and I edited for an hour. And so there's a lot of changes going on in this piece that I'm working on. And so I have to work with my brain sharp, and that's what you might have to do with your art. Don't think you can just sit down at the same time, even though we do sit down at 8:57 in the mornings because that's when people can catch this with a cup of tea. But make notes and be creative. So here's what I did. I wrote on here the statement that is one of my favorite quotes of all time, and that sounds very arrogant, so forgive all that. I think you know me well enough to say when you write a tagline, you like it, and several of you have this bee, and I love the concept of this bee. It says, if God hadn't made the honeybee, there'd be no need for biscuits. And that'd be how very sad. And then I signed it. And so I came up and I had to go. Now it was time for me to leave. And so she had a couple more folks there and she looked up and I said, this is for you. Buy the bees and make some honey. and I'll bring us a biscuit. And she once again reached for her cloth to do her eyes, and I go, I'm out of here. Have a blessed day. And so, um, how meaningful was something that took me less than 5 minutes to do? It just changed her day. And I was telling Carol the story last night while we were at a little place to have a bite of dinner, a place that we haven't been in 5 years, and so just 3 miles from our house. And we sat outside at a little table, and I said, I just want the fish sandwich, but I don't want the bread. Can you just bring me the fish, and can you fry this piece of haddock? I didn't know you had haddock, and I'll be back. She said, yes, we have haddock. And I said, can you just fry it so it's golden? I don't want that crispy crunch. I want that soft golden bend. She said, I'll talk to the chef. And I said, thank you. I'm not going to tell you her name. But as she reached over to hand me a menu, here on her arm, right here, were about 12 keys, certainly a full octave, tattooed of a piano. In just that gray, green, black, and white, this color right here. Her arm skin color, and then that. And so I just made a mental note. And when she came back, I said, so you play the keyboard? She goes, no, I wish. My grandmother played the keys, the piano, had a piano in the house when I was growing up, and was kind of raised by my grandmother. And my mom and I weren't very close, and so my grandmother played, and it made me want to play. And now that she's gone, I'm going to start taking lessons. I know it's going to be hard because I'm a working mom, a single mom, working mom, 2 kids, have 2 jobs to keep it all going. And suddenly I got the story. So while she was getting the haddock was brilliant, it took me back to Maine, took me back to my journal in Maine. I pulled out my journal this morning, and I thought, I think I drew a picture of a haddock in here. And I went looking, and there it was right there. It's the first time I had haddock in Maine. It was just brilliant in my moleskin accordion journal. And there it is right there. And I love keeping this thing by and handy. And it's the biggest lobster I'd done at the time. Right now I've got one that's 4 feet by 8 feet. I'm working on outside, but it didn't make me homesick because I didn't live in Maine, but it made me want sick for Maine. The pictures of the mountains this week made me homesick for East Tennessee and the Great Smoky Mountains. And so what happened was I painted her this picture right here. Let me show you what I painted for her. Ready? Here goes. Let's see if this will come in. I posted it up there. So I painted this, didn't know what a piano looked like, but I thought I've done a couple. So I did this little piano painting up on the left, and I did this little roo, and this is on a little 2 by 2 1/4 card, and it says 88 reasons to never give up. And I gave it to her, and she fell apart. Carol and I were sitting there, and we said to her, you keep loving your kids, you keep working hard, and you're going to make it. And that someday I want to hear you play the piano. And so those are the little things that you can do. There was another painting over there that says, I was at an event serving some social workers this week. I just went to be a servant and pour tea and coffee and work the room. And while the counselor, the lady, was speaking, encouraging these people who give their days 9 to 24 hours most of the time to care for people, she says, it's great to be a bleeding heart, but not okay to bleed out. You have to take some time for you too. And what have I been saying to be an artist? You got to find some time that's your white space, that's your time to sit down, your time to be creative, your time to think. You just can't just go like a mad person all the time. So I painted some bleeding hearts as I sat there on this tiny little 2 by 2 piece of paper. I was over in a corner by myself, didn't think anybody was watching. And I just thought, I think bleeding hearts sort of look like a heart, but they look like they have little fish tails hanging out the bottoms of them there. I never really drawn any before. And so I drew these little bleeding hearts, and and I wrote what she said. It's okay to be a bleeding heart, she said, but it's not okay to bleed out. Be a brave heart. And I thought, that's a cool little saying. So I gave it to the counselor as she left. She's a qualified, I don't think she has a PhD, she have her PhD, but she's a certified licensed counselor. I've been to seminary, been to school for that. And she went, she did the same thing. She sort of grabbed her chest and went, oh my gosh, you did that for me? And I said, well, I did it because this is how I listen. And I was listening to you. And now what's this other picture for? Well, I'll tell you, she walked me through something. Take a look at the bottom picture down there. You see it? You see two sofas, and then you see that little thing over in the corner. So I'm sitting there, and she is going to walk them through a relaxation time. So here's what happened. She said, "Hey, if you could you close your eyes?" And I'm thinking, well, I'm right in the middle of painting something, but okay, I'll do it. So I closed my eyes. And then she said, I really just want you to just relax for a second. Take a deep breath, let it out, relax. So we went through that process with her. And she said, I want you to pause here, and I want you to see if you can put your brain on pause. I'm not asking you to meditate or do something funky that you don't know how to do or go to a place or consider this. I'm just asking you to let your brain just wonder. But if it starts, like my camera this morning on the desk, if it starts to focus, let it focus on something else, but don't let it stay there long. Just let it move around and just let it be a pleasing time of just being paused and go, not worrying about that, not worrying about that, not worrying about that. So I sort of went through that a little bit. So I rested and I relaxed. And I paused and I let my mind move, but not necessarily focus. And I breathed and I was conscious of my breathing in and out. And feel grounded, she said, as you breathe in and out. Take your hands and put them on your knee, just above your knees, and sit up in your chair, straighten your spine. Take a breath. And so I'm doing all that, because I think, my posture is bad sometimes during the day. We're all down over a computer or my art, or I'm editing and I'm tense in the shoulders. So all that, and I'm thinking, let those thoughts go. Just be in this moment. So I went through this whole deal. This was about, seriously, 5 minutes. And then she said, I want you to look up. But don't open your eyes yet, but tip your head up and then get ready to open your eyes. And I want you to look up. And then I want you just to take in what you see in this aesthetically pleasing room. It's a beautiful room. It had a wonderful wall. The colors were very blended and mottled, I would say. And then when I raise my head up and open my eyes, what do I see? It's only in my world. I see Mr. Potato Head right in front of me. And I almost went, but I held back, and I just thought, oh, God's a humorist. Of all this relaxation, I look up, I see Mr. Potato Head, and I'm thinking, man, whoever drew Mr. Potato Head was a genius, because he was a loose artist who said, let's make it so loose that people can just add lips and nose and eyes and just make it however you want. And it's folk art. And so my little paintings are folk art. They're not the folk art of that they did in the years past. They're whimsical, they're caricatures, they're pieces to make people smile. But I'll tell you, sometimes given with a heart, they make people weep. Not out of sadness, but out of memory and hope. And so we talked to those people. I gave away 10 different paintings this week. And these were probably some of my finest moments. Not to paint art and sell art. I gave one to, I gave the Bleeding Hearts one away. I gave a bee away there. I gave one to Dilly, who's just 6 years old. She turned 6 this week, and it said, Happy Day. I gave one to Suzanne. We were out on a rooftop with some friends celebrating her birthday, and they served her a free shrimp cocktail on the house. And the lady said, I'll take your menu. And I go, no, I'm keeping this one. She said, well, no, we take them back to the kitchen. I said, not this one, you don't. I'm going to paint on the back of it. And she looked at me like, what? I said, yeah, I have my paint here. I have my brush here. And so I painted a shrimp cocktail for her. I painted another bee there for a beekeeper friend. Buffy, I gave the bee. I told you that one. The lady at the waitress, I'm not telling you her name, I gave her the piano player. Dave and Missy got a Roo card because they want to learn how to paint watercolor. Mark yesterday got a small rooster with a phone number that said, call me, we'll talk. Herb is getting a little whittle Roo that's going to be painted by tomorrow. I'll hand it off at church. We were hiking up a mountain with 40 people, and he was talking to me about trees. And I had this piece of river birch in my hand, and I said, it's kind of rough. He doesn't know he's going to get it, but he said, how's that going to turn out? And I said, kind of rough, because I'm walking and talking to you while I'm whittling. I'm trying not to cut my finger. But this is a nice piece of wood. And he said, my wife was so fascinated that you were whittling something. And Herb's probably in his mid-60s, and he's become a good friend of mine. The point is, each one of those pieces of art was a part of a journey of someone else. And so that's the kind of the stuff that I want to share with you as I do Roo and build Roo. So, all right, last 10 minutes here, and I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to do another little painting like this and just show you how I love this paper. In fact, I think I got a piece that's almost, no, I'll just leave it in here. I'll just do it right there. I'm just going to do it with my Kakuno pen. Let's put a little piece of music on. I don't know what kind of music this is, but it's going to have to be lobster music. Whoa, let's see what we got going here. That's way too hot. There it is. And I like this lobster that's sort of crawling onto the page. There's something about that that's just kind of funky. And so I think what I'm going to do is start right here. Let's see. These little divided limbs that come out here. Lobster has 10 legs, Tom tells me. The 2 claws count as legs also. So what I want you to do is just learn to just scratch sketch sometimes, and don't worry about whether you're doing it right or not. Have some fun by just making it just happen. By the way, that's how the claw's made right there. It's almost like a part of a pipe wrench. See, I find other things in nature that look sort of like something that I want them to be. And that's how it turns out for me. It's just, see that little pipe wrench right there? And then this piece comes out of here, kicks back like this and comes in. So I get this lobster that's kind of coming down here like so. Need another leg coming out right here. Maybe this one's coming down, crossing over these two. That's perfectly okay. So he's rough, but that's what you do when you paint a 5-minute just little Roo or lobster. And then his eyes are inset right here behind this. Here's where that flare pen or some sort of pen that you have that maybe would just come in handy to come in here and do some shadowing or shading right in here. And this was going to add some blue. Where's a stylus pen I had too? That Yasutoma pen, if you have one of those, that's got a little bit of a felt tip, that'll lend a little bit of blue and purple to it also. So sometimes these rough little sketches that start with just a lot of paint lines and scratching, when you start adding color over the top of that, it gives you a looseness. It's just a fun feel. And I love that. Watch this paint turn into blue right here. I don't know where that piece was going. I just ran completely out of the line there, which doesn't bother me most days, but there is so I'm going to put a little of this in here like so, a little of this in here like so, and then come in and just put some water and just let that pen start to bleed a little bit, because I'm going to come back and add some color to those. I think I'm going to throw a little bit of red right here like this. And when I say throw it on, look, I just threw that right on there. And a little bit of yellow that needs to come in here like so. Touch a little. Put some orange on these claws like so. And I'm going to add a little water first, because remember, it's watercolor. Just add a little water first. Let it wet the paper just a little. Grab a little bit of that gamboge and bring it in, orange and yellow right here on the claw, just like so. And you're thinking, well, this doesn't look like much of a lobster, but hey, he ain't done yet. We got to put him in the water first. A little bit of blue on these hinges right here, just to let those just show. There's not a lot of blue lobsters in the ocean, but every now and then you see them. There's a lot of green and brown and ugly colors in lobsters, but those aren't kind of fun to paint. So a little more of this red, and sometimes I'll put this red in here. Look at this right here. I'll take a little red right here, put it in here. You know, this is the one palette that I keep open for painting. There's a little French gray coming in right there. That's a little too pink for me, so I'm going to add a little bit of orange to that, and a little touch more red. And now it's still just a little pink, but that's a good base for starting these legs. Sometimes the legs of a lobster lobsters really only turn red when you cook them. But they do have a lot of that's solid red when you cook them. And these tend to have a little more red in them right here too. The antennae that are coming out here, and they're hinged at a very strange angle. They come around. So you suddenly have this lobster that needs a little bit of green in him right here on this back side, and then a little more orange right here. And I'm just a couple minutes to go, and you can see how fast this has come together. I'll grab some black right here and come in just in a couple of these spots. And then I could come here and just do some little rough spots. Maybe a little splatter of black in there would look good too. A little bit of red here like so. I splattered some as I pulled it across. I love that. I'm not trying to change it. I'm not trying to turn it into something it's not. I might come in with a fountain pen or my 07 Pentel needle tip and come back in here and maybe do his eyes just like this, and maybe this line in the back with some crotch hatching just in there like that, and double these up a little bit in the teeth. Can you see where that's going? So I suddenly have this cool looking little whimsical, almost loose styled lobster. He's a little bit abstract, but man, he's got everything there that reminds you that he's a lobster. I'm going to take my Lamy fountain pen, and I'm just going to go in and see if it's going to do what I want it to do. I'm going to add a little bit of, yeah, there it is. If I just lay it down and let the water sort of pull the ink out, I'm just going to get some dark lines right in here. And I just wanted a little of these segments in the body to have a little bit of shadow in between them. Same with here. And some of these, look at this, I'm going to just build a little bit of black right in here and down here like this. How fast can you do something like that? It's not a race, but you see what I mean. I mean, that's pretty quick when you think about, hey, it suddenly turned into a working piece of art from all those scribbles and lines. And then I love this dude right here. I can't shake the Lamy like I can shake this. By the way, I'll have to clean this pen. There we go. Look at that. Just wetted a little bit and shook out some spots on it. And I'll take those spots and just blend them in just a little bit. A little more shadowing right here. A little shadow right here. Up in there. Back here. And just a touch on these insides of these legs right here. So now I have something to pull me in to that. Look at that. Okay. That's pretty cool. All right. So he's done. I'll sign him later. Hey, thanks for being a part of the show today. Let's see if I can get my page back up here. It fell apart. Part of my page disappeared. Your soft cover journal. Yeah, it's a it's a what did I say? Strathmore soft color, and it's 5.5 by 8, I believe. Let's see, 5.5 by 8 is the whole size. 5.5 by 8 is the whole journal. So this paper winds up being somewhere around 5 by 7 if you want to do a little painting. Remember, it's not perforated; it doesn't rip out. You have to cut it out. But it's called a watercolor book, and it's soft cover, and it's not cheap. I think it's going to be 18 or 19 bucks. I think is what I paid for it on Amazon. So, but I really do like it. It's fun to carry around, and it paints really well for my style, quick and easy. Do I like it as much as my Kilimanjaro paint book? No, and it's only $3 less, but this is 10 by 5.5, and I like this style, especially if I'm just going to drop it in half and give somebody a painting of it. And there's a lobster that's dried, so that's what it's going to look like. So this one's going to look a little richer, but it's going to dry pretty much like this, and that's a pretty good feel. Here's one more that I did just to show you. There's just a little quarter painting, which I like, putting on the bisque. So you get this feel for, I love these little black spots that just appeared here when I shook my pen over it. Don't be afraid to spill some paint, people. Don't be afraid to spill some paint. Hey, it's a little after 10. I got to go bake some biscuits. Take a sip right now. Look over at your wall. If you could use only one pen for your art, which would you choose? Jason, that one pen thing. I would say a Pentel or a Kakuno fine point fountain pen for my style. An '05 or an '07. So it's between these two all the time. At any time in my world, if you found me at the airport and you said, "Hey, could you paint me something?" I could say yes, because in my bag, but buried not only in my bag but in my jacket pocket, I would have this pen right here. And this pen is an '07 Pentel refill inside. It's just in a brass heavy line pen that I carry all the time. That's why I buy those refills. I would have this paint with me. I would have that pen with me, and I would probably have this travel brush right here. And it's a number 4, and it's called a Fuyumufui, Fufushimufui, Fuumuui, Fumui. Okay, so that's the pen right there, and it came in a travel pack, and I think the pack cost me $20. And this is the only pen I use out of there. It's a number 4. Do they make a number 4 travel brush that you could use? You bet they do. Who does? Well, Cheap Joe's does. In fact, if you don't have one of these and you want it in your bag, I do have one here. I gave away 2 last week, as a matter of fact, to a friend who wants to start painting and carrying journals with her. So somewhere in here's a little short brush. It's about this long, and it's a number 4, and it's made just like this. It is not hair like this brush. This brush is a hair brush. This brush is a trimmed nylon, but trust me, this is some of the best nylon brushes out there, and they're American Journey brushes from Cheap Joe's. So those are my go-tos right there. Let's see. Anything else could have jumped? Yeah, cues. Any cues left? Let me go back to this. I think I'm running late today, but hey, where are we going? It's a Saturday morning, right? I just got a 100 Strathmore watercolor card to paint. Yeah, it's about the same paper. It's 140 pound. This one doesn't have, Justin, this one doesn't have perforated pages. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So I just carry a pretty sharp knife. I always carry a sharp knife, but I've been cutting them out with this big old honker thing because I can drag it across the page and you just rip it out. It is not perforated, so that's not going to happen. You can get a perforated one. This one is not perforated. Hey, we'll talk about that come November. Monday, I should have information on my beginner's class. If you know anyone who's serious about becoming, wanting to start watercolor and say, I don't know anything, I want to start from the scratch. I want to start all the way back, clear a slate, clear a table, clear some time. I'm going to do a 4-week, an hour a week. I'm going to do a 4-week class on beginner's watercolor. I just have gotten a lot of emails saying, hey, you've been doing this for a while. Would you go back to the basics and bring me from there again? And I said, you bet, I'll do it. Or people who said, we've been watching, but we haven't started. Or people like Dave and Missy last week who I met and said, we are both retired and we were talking about, this is our style. This is what we love. Could we learn to do this? And I said, I don't know. Could you? It's up to you. Yes, you could. So I'm going to start that, and information will be out next week. We're setting up the website this weekend, the page, and so probably before even next Wednesday, if not before then. I may know something Monday, but you'll get a link, or if you're following me on Flowdesk, or if you're subscribed to my Flowdesk, you'll get an email that says, here it is, and here's the cost. Think about somebody right now. Send them a text or a quote this morning. Send them a prayer, a hope, a wish. I'm looking at my board over here. Ooh. Got 2 people. All right. So 2 sips. I still appreciate you guys being on this show. I'll follow up on some of these quotes a little later today. And by the way, Denise, you're right. Art opens your world to conversation with people who may never have a chance to talk to. Yeah, isn't it amazing? 10 people. 10 people. All right, these are going to be fun comments to look through today. So thank you. I have my head down most of the time. It's time for me to go make some biscuits. Sherry Buller, I see you're the last post. Nope, Ricky Govers. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Okay, all right.